Okay, so you should have some supplies at your desks, such as your mask right here, a bag with your name on it that has a ball of clay and a little extra clay to make your face, and then you also have some tools. We talked about this one. This is the potter's knife, but you can also use a regular butter knife, which that's what I'll be using so that you can see how that's done. These are some carving tools that you can use to add details later on. So I'll set these aside. I'm going to set my mask aside too, just to use it as reference. It doesn't need to be in your face. You don't want to get clay on it. You're going to take your ball of clay out of the bag and your extra clay, and you can set that off to the side for now. And just set your bag off to the side. So Miss Courtwright, me, has already made a nice ball of clay for you. So the first step when making a pinch pot is you're going to stick your thumb into the clay, just like that. And the reason it's called a pinch pot is the next step is you are going to pinch or press around the sides of where you just entered into your clay with your thumb. I'm pressing around, just pinching as I go, smoothing out the inside, making sure it's a same thickness all the way around, even on the bottom, and you can feel that when you are working with your fingers. You can feel the difference in between your thumb and your pointer finger or your middle finger when I'm pressing around. So after I have a good shape that I like, it's a pretty good shape, then you can use your thumb and your other fingers to smooth out your pinch pot to make it nice and smooth so there's no bumps or ridges. You really want to do this first before you add any details. So I'm just going to do this and I will fast forward to the end here in a second. So after you've smoothed it out, see how it's nice and smooth, you can then tap it on its bottom to make sure the bottom's flat. You can tap it on the top to make sure the top's flat. And then I have a nice cup right there. So the next thing I want to do before I add my face, because the face will be like the last thing I do, just fixing my bottom a little bit, is I'm going to take one of my tools using this little stick and I'm going to put my initials and my class code in here. You want to make sure that you put your initials and your class code, otherwise you won't know whose piece is whose once it comes out of the kiln. So I have my initials and I'm going to do 3M A for Monday's class. Now see how I messed up my A a little bit? You can just always go back in and carve it. Doesn't have to be perfect, you just want it to be there. Okay? So now you can see I have my initials, I have my class code. Don't press too hard when you flip it over because it will get rid of that if you press too hard. But I flipped it over so that I now have my base to work with. Then you're going to take your extra clay and make the face. So I'm going to change the camera a little bit so that you can see how I'm going to add my face. Okay, now I have the camera changed a little bit, different angle here, just a little bit different angle. You also have some water at your table. You do not need a lot of water when you are adding pieces to the face. Remember, we are going to score and slip. That is how you add any two pieces of clay together. So again, I have my face right here. You guys can see as my reference. So first thing I'm going to do is maybe add the nose. So I'll take a little chunk of clay and my nose, I'm going to roll it between my hands to make it a ball. You don't have to do that. You can do it however you want. And then I'm going to shape it so that my nose is kind of pointy shaped at the top. and round at the bottom. So you can see I have my nose. Kind of looks the same there. Then I'm going to flatten one side by tapping on the table. See how that's flat? Zoom in a little bit closer. That's because these two pieces are going to attach. So I'm going to score by making little X's in my clay. You can see all the roughed up edges. Roughed up edges right there. Yeah. And then I'm going to rough up where I'm going to put my nose. You have to rough up both places. Okay, see I have it roughed up there? Then I'm just going to dip my finger into the water and add it to both roughed up areas. And then I can pick up my pot and squish the two together. Then I'm going to smooth out that crack. I don't want any of those cracks to show, because if there's cracks, it might not stick on. So I'm just using my thumb to smooth in those cracks. And that's going to really cement my piece into my nose, into my pinch pot. Now getting underneath might be a little harder. Just do your best. Just keep rubbing it to get all the cracks out. All right. So now I have my nose attached, and that's not coming off. So I have my nose. Now, I'm going to add my eyes. Now let's say I don't want to add a piece for my eyes. I don't have to. I can add details by carving into it. So I'll take my stick again, and I will carve the eyes into my pinch pot. I'll smooth out any rough edges with my finger. If I want it a little bit darker of a curve, I can go back in, but I want to smooth out all the edges. Okay, so there I have one eye, and I can add some details to make it look more like my picture. Maybe I want to use the other side and give her a dot for the eye. Maybe I want to use the side and roll on some eyelashes. So there I have one eye. You can see it. Now I'll do the other one. If you want to see what I'm doing, here's my picture that I'm copying off of. So I'm going to bring her eye over, and then I have this pointy part, and then I'll come down. I really want to smooth out those places where there's clay buildup. If I mess up, let's say I see how I messed up right there, all I have to do is smooth it out with my finger. And it's best to do this with dry hands. You don't want wet hands. If you have wet hands, your clay is going to get really slippery. All right, so there I have my eye shape. Now I'm going to put in my eye hole. And I'll add some dents for those little pieces I have up there. And then I can add some eyelashes. Maybe I do the eyelashes a little differently on the side. That's okay. So there I have my face, my eyes, and my nose. Doesn't have to look exactly like it, but I want them to look similar. The last thing I'm going to do is add my mouth, and I'm going to do that by adding clay on. So let's say I take a little piece of clay, and I'm going to make a coil with it. Remember, you make a coil by rubbing it between your palms. And then I'm going to cut it a little bit because I don't want her mouth that big. And actually, I can use this coil for both. I'll roll it out some more. Maybe I want the corners of her mouth to turn up a little. And then I'm going to flatten it a little bit on the table. It's still a little big, so I'll cut it off some more of it. That's going to be her bottom lip. And I'm just setting it there. I haven't attached it yet. And then I'm going to cut off some pieces for her upper lip. So that's going to be her mouth. So I can take it and I can shape it a little bit since I didn't attach it. Oop, dropped it. Remember, wet clay is very easy to change, and if you drop it, it's okay. So that's going to be your mouth. So I'm going to score up the back. Maybe I'll use my knife for the scoring this time. So I roughed it all up. See how that's all roughed up? Then I'll rough up where I'm going to attach it. And I'll take a little bit of water, put it on the mouth side, and where I'm going to attach it, and press it down. And then I want to smooth out those cracks. Now I don't want all the cracks smoothed out because then you won't be able to see the definition of her lip. But you want to smooth out as much as you can so that those pieces stay attached. Now that lip's moving a little bit, so I'm just going to use one of my tools and move it back over. You can also use your tools to smooth out some cracks, but you have to be careful with that because see how I left a dent in there? Just going to smooth that out some more. Okay. Then you can take a little bit more water if you want to smooth out some more places. You can use the water to smooth things. Don't use too much water though. All right, so there I have my face. Kind of looks like that. Doesn't have to look perfect. Doesn't have to look the same. This mouth is not coming off. This nose is not coming off. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your initials and your class code are still on there really good, because otherwise you won't be able to figure out whose is whose. It's pretty good. Sure it's how I want it. And then I'll put it back into my bag. And put it back on the tray. And I'm done. That's all I need to do. This extra clay, if somebody else needs extra clay, you can give it to them. Or you can just put it back into your bag. Or there's also a red bucket on the counter that you can put it into. Okay? That's all we have to do today to make your face mug that matches your mask. Have fun!